2nd Merrimack Conservation Commission meeting. We have Cindy and Pete both absent at the present time, so could I ask Mike and Eric to sit in for them as voting members? Great, thank you. Mike asks for Cindy, Eric for Pete. Great, I see a couple people from public. Are you here for agenda items or public comment?
Agenda items.
Just a spectator, great.
I want to speak a few good words on, I think, somebody you're going to vote on for the Horse Hill Subcommittee.
Okay. Do you want to do it now or when it's agended?
I can do it now because I don't know when it is agended.
Okay. It's after Pete, and Pete's not here, so I was going to move it to first.
All right, so why don't I speak now?
Okay.
And,
Come on up, sign in, and
I know Pete's coming because I drove by him this afternoon, and he said he was just going to be a little later.
Don, I want to thank you too, because your pictures were a big hit at this year's Winter Carnival too.
Thank you.
Was that the beaver?
Beaver activity.
I assume the green light is bright on the mic.
It is.
Okay, great.
That means it's on.
Yes.
Yes, Don the Liberty, Horse Hill Nature Preserve Subcommittee. Wanted to put a few good words in for my neighbor, Mark Gagnon. Mark, who was sitting to my left, is recently retired, and both he and I have been able to spend a little bit more time in Horse Hill. What I like about Mark is he does have a vision of being able to help in various capacities. What I like is the fact that if there's a tree limb that's come down on the trail, or if there's a rock that's been kicked up by maybe a horse on the trail, it's the type of thing that he'll take action. He won't just walk by it. So essentially, I feel good that I'm not the only one that goes out in that part of Horse Hill to use the trails, but also to be looking out for what needs to be done. Sometimes it can be minor, sometimes it might need to go back home, get a tool, get a saw, and come back and attend to it. The thing that's important right now is we're at that junction where a lot of the bridges in Horse Hill are 10 or more years of age. So I'd like to think that we're having to apply the 3 R's in any of the bridges that we're dealing with now, and that is repair, rebuild, or even replace. What I like about Mark is he does have skills that I don't have, knowledge that I don't have in terms of construction, what it takes to bring something up to spec. And what I also like is that in some cases he's got the materials and the tools handy. So he's been a big help with the times that we've gone out and have had to do some of the serious repairs on some of the trails. I think it would be a real asset to have him on the subcommittee, and a real asset to the upkeep of Horse Hill Nature Preserve, especially in dealing with the bridge work that needs to be done in the upcoming months and years. So I would recommend him highly.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter, I was buying time for you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, rolling through to new business. Peter is the first piece of new business, so come on up. Sign in and introduce yourself.
All right, I'm Peter Mikolajczyk. All right. Peter Mikolajczyk, and I am the current chair of the Horse Hill Nature Preserve Subcommittee to the Merrimack Conservation Commission. So today, I want to give you guys a kind of a briefing on 2019, some of the highlights, and then some of our goals for 2020. And then we have 2 projects that we're looking for some funding on. So I'll get started. So first, I'd like to recognize the volunteers who are also on the committee with me. Rose Shajanko, Tim Adams, Bruce Peterson, Don LaLiberty, Sharon Hickey, Lynn Wentz, and halfway through the year we had Cindy Glenn on there. And then Mike joined us, and Mark Yagnan. So thank you to all the volunteers. So 2019, we decided to set some goals, and we talked about our goals should encompass safety, education, communication, and then outreach with the town. So when I think about 2019, 4 things come to mind: beavers, mud, trees, and bridges. Those are the things that we kind of touched on. So we had some major beaver activity on the Stoka Pond this year, and it caused us to have to look at shutting down trails for safety. We had an expert give us some advice on whether this was normal behavior or out of the ordinary. So we learned a lot about beaver activity this year. Big shout out and thank you to the town who helped us remove some dangerous trees and make the trails safe. Also, Dawn and Bruce spent a lot of time working in that area too in 2019. We did we put in a new bridge on Quarry Trail. We redecked an existing large boardwalk on Quarry Trail that needed new decking on it. And we repaired a boardwalk on Loop Trail by the Watonic Bowman. We had about 12 volunteers show up one day, and about 4 hours later, we had everything in and out and done. In terms of outreach, Tim Adams led a number of nature walks and different activities. He's also in Horse Hill all the time and a great resource for keeping his eyes open on things. He caught some illegal trail building activity and asked the people to stop and whatnot. So big thanks to that. Bruce and Dawn have been very instrumental in repair of our current bridges. Our bridges now are about 10 years old, roughly, in Horse Hill, and they weren't built with, the wood wasn't treated at the time on a lot of them, so they're starting to need repair at this time. So Dawn and Bruce have really gone in and done that for us. Lynn Wentz has been instrumental in the gardens and upkeep of the Amherst Road parking lot, putting in native species, along with Tim Adams has gone after the invasive species and done a lot of cutting out of these invasive roses and stuff. Myself, I've been working with the Watonic Bowman. They do a number of archery activities in the area, and just keeping an open line of communication with them, signages at entrances so everyone can enjoy the park and go to different areas if they don't want to be in that general area. We've seen an uptick in the number of horses at Horse Hill, which is nice. And that goes along with our bridges. Now we're really looking at our bridges, and we want them to be safe for not only humans, but also animals. So that's kind of going to be our focus going forward. And then mountain bike demos. We've had a number of mountain bike demos, and I think we've got it down pretty well with signage, and it's a great time for anybody to try on a mountain bike. So that was 2019. 2020. So going forward, for 2020, we, working with our neighbors at Wetonic Bowman after they had a loss of their clubhouse. So talking about some security and what can we do, being in a butter to kind of help them out a little bit. Marking of boundaries. We want to focus on our boundary lines of the preserve and making sure we have proper signage up. Bridges are a big concern. Rebuilding bridges in a way that they're really going to last for years and years to come. And also, I'll pass this around. Mark started, we decided that naming bridges, so if you're in Horse Hill and Nature Preserve and you are at a bridge and there's not a post, if the bridge had some way to tell you where it is, it would be helpful, not only, and even for the police too. So I'll pass this around. We're going to give each bridge an ID. The first is L for Loop Trail, or B for Blodgett Hill. And then we have posts, and the bridges kind of fall in between posts. So the next two numbers are the posts where the bridges are located. And then the following number is if it's bridge 1, 2, 3, just kind of naming it out a little bit better.
Want to have that go around?
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea. So those are kind of the improvements and stuff that we're targeting for this year. Anything else on that?
The proposal has the sum total of what you're asking for?
No, I'll go over that next. Yep. Any questions for me on 2019, 2020? All right. So I'll move on to our two improvement projects. And I'll pass this around here. So Wetonic Bowman came to our last meeting, and we talked about the parking lot. We have a verbal agreement with them that there's 10 parking spaces right along in their parking lot, and there's no electricity down there, and it's very dark. Cars go down there in the winter, get stuck, and there were two signs notating where the 10 parking spots were. One of them has disappeared. The other one's faded and hard to see. So what we're proposing to do to put another two new signs on 4x4s with LED solar-powered lights, kind of similar to the ones Park and Rec's put down at Wasserman Park. So something that's going to motion sensing. So if somebody were to come down there at night, they could turn on, maybe be a deterrent, maybe be a safety thing. So I put together a quote for the material and the signs, and requesting a budget not to exceed $300 for that project.
Do you have more copies of what you're handing out?
Nope. Sorry.
No, well, I meant, when it comes through here, we're supposed to keep a copy of it.
Oh, okay.
Meeting minutes,
Gotcha.
so, that's your own copy?
But you can have it.
And where on this picture are the signs, are you planning the signs to be?
One sign is already there
Mhm.
with next to our kiosk, and the other one would go 10 spaces down
Okay.
where the old one used to be.
Peter, with commercial lighting in a parking lot, for example, typically on the plans we see how much area they are expected to downcast and cover. Any ideas what these LEDs put out?
They do 2,000 lumens, okay? And this one I selected was a 3-head, which will do 120 degrees of coverage.
Mhm.
So plenty of light, and it's got a small solar panel that goes on the top. Yeah.
is it possible, they're somewhat directional, so
They
you
are
can, you
directional, so-
can keep them away from pointing towards the houses that are up on that ridge, for example?
Yeah, yep, and plus those houses are so much higher, I don't think they're
They
going
are
to.
up quite a bit,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they would only, we could set them so they would only come on if somebody was in the area.
Just on a side note, Peter, is the town involved at all with anything dealing with plowing or grading or
Don,
anything dealing with the
Don.
lot?
come up and talk, because the microphone's not gonna pick you up back there.
On a side note, Peter,
Yeah, I don't think it's turned on.
It's on, the green light's on.
It's on.
Right, perfect.
it'd probably be good to know, and what the understanding is with the Watanic people, is there any responsibility, is there anything with the town dealing with the drive-through there, the parking area, the spaces that we're talking about here? Or is that all maintained by the Watanic Bowmen? And during the time period that they're without a clubhouse and maybe might be for some months, is there any liability on the town or whatever with regard to our designated parking spots, yet it might be difficult to get in there in the first place with somebody other than a SUV?
As far as I know, it's not plowed, and the town will come through and help grade the road on a requested basis. But other than that, I don't believe it's maintained by the town at all.
Is this parking area, is it on town public land, or is it on Watanic Bowman land?
It is on Watanic Bowman land, from what I
I'll show
understand.
you on the map here where it is.
But we have a kiosk and we have a gate, so it'd be right on, the post would be right on the border line of their property and our property. Not quite?
So see
Not
where
quite.
it says P
Close.
here? This is
They're so
the
on their property.
boundary.
Oh, yeah.
This obviously is
kinda
Horse Hill.
just-
Is there some reason that they're not willing to do this?
You drive on.
They
this
don't have the funding to do it.
Old Kings Road, and then there's the
Are they,
So the agreement is not just verbal, it is
little
written.
stretch
Is it
of
written?
road
Was
leading to the
negotiated.
parking lot
It has a renewal
right here.
period that goes with it, and I don't have a copy of the agreement with me.
Yeah, I don't
If you
know
were
copy
coming
myself.
this way, this road
Not that
here,
I've seen it. I haven't
down
seen it.
Downstairs.
Kings
We have a
Highway,
copy downstairs in our
that
records.
leads right to
Okay.
the Watanic people here.
Is this a dirt road? What is it? The Old Kings Road?
Yeah, it's like a Jeep road
Yeah.
that goes all the way here, and this is the trail off of Natticook, Quarry Trail, that intersects here. So sometimes people will park here to enter the trails over here.
Thank you. Thanks, Don.
Yep.
So Peter, are you looking to have the $300 funded from the Horse Hill Nature Preserve portion of the commission's funds?
It's a good question. What other fund is there?
I never knew we had any fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't, I don't know how much our fund is, and, I mean, I knew we had some money from events years ago, but the last time we got funding, we, for a project, it came from a general fund, I
Yeah,
think.
general fund last
So I
time.
guess general fund?
Okay, I was trying to, mentally see where you guys were thinking, but I believe your fund is around $500. So there's a portion of the, the commission's accounts that is earmarked for Horse Hill Nature Preserve. And I'm not sure where every penny came from, but the majority of the funds that are currently there are either donations or proceeds from the snowshoe race.
Okay. So do we need MCC permission to use that funding, or could we, at our next meeting, vote on this project ourselves and use that funding?
It has to come through this body, whether it's, from our fund or from the earmarked Horse Hill Fund.
Okay.
Discussion? Tim?
I think the chairman should hear.
Yeah. My
Tim-
side counsel.
Tim has a question or a
Comment.
comment.
So you're talking about an improvement on property that's not ours. So you have to have an agreement.
Okay.
It has to be written.
Okay.
Okay, we should relook at the agreement that was in place.
Okay.
Okay. You're talking about an improvement that includes lighting. We probably should ensure that there isn't a planning restriction or a process that has to be followed to put up lighting in a parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that kind of, and then the funds, yes, the Horse Hill funds have to come through us. But I think there's a process that has to be followed. I don't think we have the ability to approve or disapprove that now. I mean, disapprove it, obviously, we can, but.
Yeah, I think it.
Could I ask a question? On that note, Tim, just a question. Is there a difference between putting up the signs and having that on Horse Hill property in front of spaces that are on the Watanic property? Because it is so close to the line.
I think they were saying that our line's farther back than we think it is.
This line here? I know I've looked at it on the map.
Yeah, we'll have to do a little more. I think
it's
we need to
right
do
at
a
the
little
stone
more
wall.
work on this, and then we'll come back.
Yeah, the property boundary is well into the woods.
Okay.
Beyond the stone wall?
Because I just thought it was a stone wall.
Yeah, because that's
No.
a Watonic trail on the other side of that stone wall,
Yeah.
not ours.
Okay.
I should have brought the map tonight.
I would add that if you're looking to budget for things, I know Matt mentioned it in the last meeting too, but the kiosk plexi needs to be replaced. That's probably $100 or $200, I think.
Okay.
And if you get everything lined up and you have the meeting with the Bowman, get the written agreement, and I would say that we should get the agreement, the previous agreement, look at it here, and then work on a new one. Yeah, amend it and include the lighting. We should check with the planning board to make sure there aren't any restrictions on what type of lighting. And then a written proposal of, everything itemized like you had. But get that to us prior to the meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can just vote on it with everybody knowing what's going on.
The agreements with the town,
Thus.
okay, because all we are is a management authority for that property. So the agreement has to be done with the town. So there's going to have to be, the final approval and negotiation will have to be someone from the town, i.e. the town manager or designee.
Do we have lighting at any other parking spaces on any of our other properties?
Not our lighting. I mean, there's
Yeah.
there's lights at middle school.
Right, but I mean,
There's street lights that
yeah.
cast into our property. We don't have
we
any of our own.
don't have,
No.
yeah. I mean, I wouldn't really think that would be a deterrent though, because the clubhouse is way over here. I almost think it might work in the reverse.
Yeah, where not to park.
Well, right, or if the lights are going on over here, that's where everybody's focus is gonna go, as opposed to way up here where the clubhouse is.
Mhm.
But,
Well, they've got some other containers and stuff down there, so, in that parking lot. But, all right, I'll table it and, come back with work with you guys. All right, number 2. And I apologize, my printer was running out of ink. So, the first 2 bridges that we wanted to relook at are in the area of Abbey Road and Loop Trail. And here, I'll pass this around to Victoria. And so the Abbey Lane Bridge, we'd like to redeck it. There's some non-pressure treated 4x6s, and Mark has gone out and looked at the bridge and kind of put together a list of what we need. So here's the scope of work. Replace decking with new pressure treated, with 24 new pressure treated 4x6 by 5 foot timbers. 4 by 6 inches.
Really?
Yep.
They're talking big guys.
Yeah, they're a little smaller than the ones that are there now. Yep. Where these stringers, there's 3 stringers underneath, and those are actually in pretty good shape. So we're going to preserve them by putting aluminum flashing over them as a rain cap. Dig out both approachments and put down headboards to protect the end grain of the stringers that are there, and then backfill and regrade with some gravel, and then replace curbing on either side. There's 2 curbs that go along the sides. They're about that tall, just to kind of keep things from falling off the bridge, but at a higher height so leaves and debris can go underneath. I should also say this, the new 4x6s will be spaced to allow water to go through, as opposed to how it's constructed now where the water just sits on top and rots away. Then we're going to add running planks. And I've seen this at other properties, and it's running planks go down the middle and they work as a wear layer to protect the decking. And this is a best practice used by the U.S. Forest Service. So if this will help with horse hooves or snowmobile tracks that might drive over the bridge. And then we'll anchor it all down with some timber locking screws. So that is project number 1. Project number 2 is, if we go counterclockwise down Loop Trail towards White Pine Swamp, there is it's like a 3-section plank walk, and it is falling apart. It's not pressure treated. So the scope of this is remove the entire structure, lay out a new alignment with mud sills, and then we're going to reattach some 30-inch pressure treated planking on top of that with timber locking screws in a similar fashion. So that proposal that I'm passing around, we're looking to budget not to exceed $900 to do both of the bridges. And we also have a small stockpile of some donated pressure treated wood that we're going to be able to incorporate into the project to help with lower the price a little bit. And we've got a group, local group that is volunteered to come in and help us move stuff in and out.
Have you gone to Reed's Ferry Lumber?
I have
And-
not.
They've been, if you're gonna tell them you're doing this with the MCC, they've been pretty helpful in the past, pricing wise.
Okay.
Might just, maybe just worth a, comparison just to see if it's even close, but
Yeah.
they've been pretty helpful in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, including delivery.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, this was like $65 for delivery. It wasn't too bad.
Are you gonna have it delivered to the Abbey Lane
I was
easement?
I was planning on being there and having it delivered. Hopefully, coordinate delivery with the day of the project.
Not sure there's an actual easement there.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to go get it and give it to the new homeowner.
Okay, all right.
Happily. Peter, are you planning on making the plank walk essentially the same, just more robust?
Yeah, when we came up with the number of 5 feet, we looked at widths of current day snowmobiles.
So it's getting a
So
lot
we wanted
wider.
to make it so it would, meet that criteria.
The plank walk
Oh,
is
the
what
plank-
I'm
I'm
talking
sorry,
about.
did you say
Yeah,
plank?
yeah.
Do you want to come up, Mark?
Up to sign in?
Yes, you're gonna talk anyways, might as well.
Mark Agnew, 10 Danforth Road.
Current member of public.
Free agent, yeah.
So, it looks like this bridge here,
Mm-hmm.
there's one like it at the bottom of Gateway Hill, so kind of where they're planning on doing, right? The plank walk?
Blodgett Hill?
No, I'm in
This
Greater
in-
Woods.
in
Oh, Greater Woods.
In Greater
Yeah,
Woods.
yeah, the one, the one at Greater Woods before you go up the big hill?
Yeah.
That bridge is what we're kind of modeling,
Yeah.
the new one off of with the
That's-
running boards. It's gonna be very similar
Yeah.
to that.
Okay, I just wanted to make you aware.
That's a really nice
of that,
bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question was on the plank walk.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is it going to mirror more or less
No, see,
what's existing?
I think one of the problems with it, I think it's 4 sections now.
Yeah.
It's got very sharp turns to it, and consequently, people go off of it. Bikes are destroying the edges of it, and they're not using it,
Right.
and they're causing, erosion in the wet spot because it's not
They're
it's
just
not laid
going
out
around it and
for
it's
bikes.
spreading it, yeah.
Speaking as a mountain biker as well, you guys are probably better than I am. I have trouble staying on the narrow plank with a sharp turn.
Sure.
Because you put your front wheel on it and your back wheel skips off. So it's too narrow, so the standards would say you should have something that's at least like 30 inches wide, or basically it's at 3 2x10s with a space, maybe 28 and a half inches, a little space, a little bit more than that.
Space.
If you look at it, there's enough room there to straighten out the turns, so it isn't as sharp a turn. I can't remember if it was 2 sections or 3. We're gonna do less sections that are in there now. And there's enough room to align it straight. And so it'll be wider and flat and
Sure.
straighter. It'll be much easier for even people that have trouble walking on narrow pathways, not just bikes.
Yeah. So what?
I wouldn't think in the future we would do anything narrower than a 3 plank. It's just a lot more comfortable, more natural to walk on.
But a snowmobile?
It's a little narrow for a snowmobile.
But a snowmobile, it's not a high bridge. It's only
Yeah,
yay high off the
yeah.
ground. So when there's snow enough for a snowmobile, they'll be able to, they won't even know it's there.
That trail there doesn't accommodate snowmobiles anyway. There's narrow spots and sharp rocks, large rocks. It's not a snowmobile trail.
I'm wondering about the engineering. We were talking about horses, right?
Yes.
So it seems like they may post hole right through that.
Well, there's enough room in that section. It's
They
wide
go
enough.
around
they
it, yeah,
can
the
go
way
right ar-
it's pretty warm because people aren't using it. There's a wider spot there.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it stays wet there year round in that. I think
I don't-
sometimes it dries. Depends on the
It's
weather.
dry quite a bit.
It is dry
Depends on
quite
the
a
year,
bit, yeah, it's seasonal, so. But horses they'll naturally walk to the side of something like that. Just like the one, the long one that's down by Westoga Pond.
Mhm.
Horses won't go over that, my dog won't go over that. But the larger, the true bridges, they're snowmobile and horse ready with the wear planks on them is what we would be doing in the future. I think all of them would do it that way. I did some research on the U.S. Forest Service guidelines, what Peter's referring to, and found like the design standards. And the bridges we have are close. There's some detailed stuff that's not right. Plank spacing, head walls, stuff like that, and the curb heights, that as we fix them, we'll bring them up to Forest Service standards. So it's the right way to go. And the wear layer, I mean, people seem to think we're gonna see a lot more horses, that'll just preserve the longevity of the bridges, because it's cheap to replace a couple of 2x as opposed to having them wear the timbers out.
Right.
Same with the snowmobiles, not that there's a lot of snowmobiles there, but I saw one a couple weeks ago out there. I'm a snowmobiler myself, so I've seen, Gage and I used to ride together actually back in the day. I've seen a lot of snowmobile bridges that are built, with the state rebate funds, like up throughout the state, and that's pretty much the standard that they all use, the Forest Service standard, so.
In fact, in the the bridge that was designed for us in Greater Woods that Mike was talking about, we take the snowmobile runners off in the summertime and hang them on the side of the bridge.
Mhm. Really?
But we don't often have horses there. And that bridge is not showing any real signs of wear. But could we leave them? I don't know, maybe. I think we only have the wear layer that we have is only 2x8. And that bridge is
Yeah. Yeah, that's really all you
Probably
need down the middle.
5
Two
feet
or three
wide.
2x of some type.
Mm.
The snowmobile track's only like that wide. Horses' path isn't that wide either, so.
Mm.
Or even people walking like, like now we walk with the ice picks on. But a lot of times the bridges don't have ice, so you're gonna chew those up too. So it just naturally encourages people to walk down the middle on that wear layer rather than throughout, so.
something to think about. Okay. Anything else?
That's all I got. If you guys want to approve it, we'll do it.
Discussion? Sounds like a well thought out bridge proposal.
The only other comment to make is, so that spreadsheet going around, we started looking at all of the bridges, and that was probably one of the worst ones in terms of, needing attention. But there's other small things that we can do, that we'll just do from the inventory of stuff that you have there. I did red flag one that we gotta take care of in the spring. It's a abutment problem. I
Got
think.
our own red list?
There's a, it's not ready to fall down, but there's a big troll hole underneath. And so, we gotta make sure we poke a stick in there, make sure there's nothing in there before we fill it with something, but it's eroding pretty, and when we get to the high water in the spring, it'll erode quite a bit, so we'll just do that one. I'll show you that one in a couple of weeks.
Need a motion to approve it?
Yes, I'd love one.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the bridge proposals for bridges 1 and 2. Not to exceed the $900 for the 10% overage allowance from Fund 53, right?
Second? No discussion first, or?
No,
All
second.
set. All right, second.
So motion by Gage, second by Mike. Yeah. All those in favor?
Oh, okay, never mind.
7, 0, 0.
Yeah, my only comment, just see if you can save us a couple bucks and
Will.
just check with Reed's Ferry.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, guys. That's all I
Thank you.
got.
Great, thank you.
Gage, do they have, like rough cut lumber there too, not like finished?
No, they
Like
do
timbers, other timber,
You'd
like,
be better off going up
like
to
the big
Wilkins.
box stores don't have, they have,
You'd be better off going up to Wilkins.
yeah, I was thinking like Couriers maybe or something though.
Mm.
I bought like spruce planks at Courier before, like good stuff.
Yeah, I
They
get that
got,
up at Wilkins.
they got hemlock at Wilkins,
Wilkins,
yeah.
I don't know that place.
It's up in Milford,
Yeah, Milford, do
just
Boston.
off of Lineborough Road there. Yeah, just when you get up.
Oh, yeah, I
Go
know.
on the end of Lineborough Road.
Yeah.
He's a nice
Right,
guy,
it's
too.
right there, yeah.
Yeah.
And to clarify on the bridge that you guys are going to be, the big bridge near Abbey, the timbers there were a scout project.
Yeah.
The scout took down the trees, cut the lumber, dimensional lumber, so the decking
Mhm.
is actually dimensional 4x5.
Yeah.
And he soaked it. So it's not pressure treated, but it's soaked. It was treated,
Wow.
but
Really?
it was soaked in more of what they'd soak like a telephone pole in.
Creosote.
Suit.
No, like a newer telephone pole.
I wonder what they used.
The more green.
Yeah, I know you can get some spray-on stuff.
Yeah, I know he had set up a tarp bath, and he had them
Oh,
soaked
yeah.
in there.
Interesting.
Yeah, this was.
Is that a conservation-approved material? I wonder what it was.
It was approved.
Yeah, yeah, the new phone poles we can use in the woods,
You can.
the new
Yep.
ones. This was that material, yeah.
Well, if we ever need to replace, I mean, from what I saw, like the bridges that have the phone pole stringers are all in pretty good shape. Some, the newer ones are capped as they should be. I think, like as we replace decking on the ones that aren't capped, we'll cap them to preserve what's there, presuming they're in good shape. There's that other one bridge on Loop Road, on Loop Trail, that's sagging quite a bit, but I think the stringers are okay, it just warped. I didn't go under it to inspect it yet.
You wanna take up?
All right, so the next piece of business is Mark Gagnon and
That's all I just said.
Horse Hill Nature Preserve Subcommittee appointment. Did everybody get in the email the letter?
That's probably my phone and my coat ringing out there.
So, the floor is yours.
Oh, well, I can just kind of, if you haven't seen it, I'll just kind of recap what I wrote in the letter. Dawn kind of gave a nice intro there. I've been living in Danforth Road for 30 years. I'm actually from Manchester, but living here since 1990. I used to walk out in that property before the town bought it. Actually, you could take your four-wheel drive truck at some point before the town had it out there. It's a pretty rough, cheap road, but so I know probably every acre of that property through and through. I'm out there all the time. And as Dawn said, to give back and to do something for property I'm using, it just makes a lot of sense living across the street from it. I've been a hiker, biker, snowmobiler, hiked extensively in the White Mountains, so I know trails and trail maintenance and what good practices. And I'm mostly retired. I'm doing some consulting, mostly retired, so a little bit of time to work on things. I don't really have an agenda other than to say, I think we're blessed to have that property, and I think we need to preserve. We've seen the big uptick in use, I think, in the last few years. So preserve and protect what we have, and enhance it really for the whole town. It's a great asset. This is beautiful out there. I like to bring, visitors up to show them the beaver dams and lodges and stuff. It's really something, and it's changing all the time. So, just happy to help out. I've been sort of already doing it unofficially with the group, but have a little bit more time on my hands now. So, any questions?
I just wanted to say, Mark and I obviously got a background. We
Yeah.
worked professionally together for a many, a long time ago, and great asset even professionally, and his abilities follow through, thoroughness and jobs. So it's I'm very happy to when I saw your name come across. I was like, oh, that's got to be him. So I was happy to see it.
Still around?
Yeah.
Just a little grayer.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
I should talk.
So, any other discussion? I guess I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mark to the Horse Hill Nature Preserve Subcommittee. I'm sure we have a alternate position open, but I believe we have a full position open as well. Well, Tim's has to be an alternate. And Sharon has requested to be an alternate. So I think the open position we have is a full position.
Sharon has not officially stepped down, or at least it hasn't come across us as far as I know.
There's 6 full-time, including myself, and then
Mike is ex officio.
and
Come up and talk. No one can hear you over there.
Is this being recorded?
Yes.
so we have myself, we have Rose, we have Bruce, Dawn, Sharon, and Lynn as full-time. We have Tim Adams as an alternative currently. And
Okay. So there's a 7th full-time member available.
correct.
Okay. So my motion is
Well, wait,
to
I thought
appoint.
that was to
No,
take,
there isn't.
that's to take, when Sharon steps down.
When Sharon sits down.
So I don't think there is a full-time position right now
No.
until Sharon steps down, right?
And when is that July?
July 31st, 2020, what's that?
Mm. I mean, she could
Well,
ask, she doesn't have to wait till July, but
No,
I don't think there's
she's-
one open
she's,
right now, per se.
Yeah, she's voiced, I think that she's got other things going on, but she wants to go to the end of her term.
Oh, okay.
She does, so.
Okay, so there won't be one open then until July. There's an alternate open.
Yep.
Yeah. So we could today vote
Yeah.
as to have you on as an alternate, and then in July, we make a adjustment.
Excellent.
Okay.
and then,
So-
and obviously as an alternate, if someone's not here for the meeting, you can move up into a
Oh, that's
voting
how
position.
that works, the
Right.
alternate?
Yeah, like Cindy is a full-time member, but she's not a voting member today.
Because I was late.
Mike's got her vote
Wow,
today.
tough crowd.
I know.
6 minutes too. I mean, we're gonna dock your pay too.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Less than 0.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna have to pay on the way out, right? Go start a collection plate.
Do we wanna
So
decide?
yeah, my motion is to appoint Mark as a alternate member of the Horse Hill Nature Preserve, term to expire. So we try to stagger the terms, but I don't think setting your term is that significant because it might be amended when there's a full-time position open. But let's say to expire end of July, 2021. And then, unless anybody else has any other feelings, no, okay. End of July 2021. And then we'll amend when and if Sharon vacates her full-time position. All right. That was my motion.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? All right, unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
Guys.
Thank you, Mark.
Good?
Thank
You
you.
can speak.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Don.
Thank you, Don.
Get down. Oh, there it is. All right, the next piece of new business is the the discussion of the salt mitigation presentation that took place last week at the town council meeting. Gina was in attendance. Was anybody else able to make it?
Watched it on video.
Yeah, I did too.
So if you guys all watched it on video, then you know we are doing everything that we can be doing to stay compliant with what they were discussing with the Green Snow Pro. A lot of what they were discussing had to do with the highway salt that was getting into the waterways, which we have nothing to do with, so, but we're doing our job, we're doing good.
Looked like the wells in the most trouble were the ones in the south there, where the parking, all the commercial, Fidelity, the mall and all that. That seems like right, that
But-
had the most salt.
Interestingly, what I didn't realize is, at the meeting, they say they don't use salt at the outlets. So I don't know where it's coming from. They use something else. It's not, I can't remember exactly what it was. Maybe it's the potassium chloride as opposed to the sodium chloride, not the sodium, but the calcium chloride. But whatever it is, it's not supposed to, I mean, I would imagine if you put too much of anything in the waters, it's gonna build up, but they don't use the typical road salt that they use on the highways, up at the outlets.
The trouble is that those parking lots are full of cars that are from the highway.
That's true, that is
You
true.
get a lot of road wash.
Yep.
They're just sitting on the cars.
Yep, you're right.
And another thing that I noticed by working there and being in that area a lot is because Continental Boulevard is a state-maintained highway, when the state trucks are going down 3 wide, going down Everett Turnpike,
Yep.
they'll get off exit 10, go do Continental Boulevard top to bottom, and then get back on and go exit 10 again. And they're three deep going down Continental Boulevard because the whole pack
Yeah.
travels together. So I don't know if they're all spraying product as they're going, but that area gets a lot of salt. It's always clear and very white.
Yeah, they were talking about how if you can see it after the
too much.
storm, it's too much.
Right.
Yeah.
And it blows in that area.
Yeah.
Like if you like go to that Dunkin' Donuts and you walk across the parking lot, like the salt is like blowing.
Is the town supposed to have discussion with the state? Pete was here, I guess. We were talking about, I don't know if the town was supposed to have discussion, I'm not sure. About making sure that, they don't oversalt. Isn't their equipment mostly almost like pre-measured or computerized or something? How much they distribute? I don't know, I thought I saw something about that. It was already, I don't know. I was just, as a question,
Hmm.
not a statement.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of back and forth during the meeting. It was mostly a presentation,
Yeah.
and then it was thank you, and that was the end of it. So,
Yeah, I was gonna ask Pete if he was here too, if I didn't see it on the town website, the presentation, if they were gonna put it somewhere, but, because when you watch the video, you can't really see the graphs and things,
Right.
and the notes haven't come out yet, so I sort of watched the video. I was doing something else at the time, but I'd like to see the actual presentation.
we had the narrative part of it. We did.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 'cause
So I can forward that on to the rest of the commission.
Okay.
It was
can
like a
forward it.
7-page. Okay, it's like a 7-page. We just got it today with the this document that comes for our note taking.
Oh, okay, okay, great. Oh, I wonder if MVD would have too, on their website, maybe. I didn't think about checking that, I just checked ours. Oh, okay, oh, you were looking at
One step ahead of you.
Yeah, you were.
I wonder, did they mention the people giving the presentation, was Nashua experiencing any of the same problems like Pennachuck? With the salt levels too high? Did anyone mention anything about that?
I don't think so. I think it was just about the Merrimack wells, right?
Because their water sources are pretty close to MVD anyway. And it'd be interesting if they already handled this problem, right?
Honestly, I don't know, but I would think that MVD and Accc have been in communication.
You keep that
I would imagine they're pretty much in tune to because we do share some water resources.
A lot of the roads off of Continental too are low salt roads. So, I think that's a critical area. Is that, you know, industrial Continental intersection there. If I had to make a, you know, case for where issue might arise.
If you think about the fact that we're still holding Home Depot to a no salt stipulation, and that's off Continental,
Mm-hmm.
and it's further away from the water than that is, so. It's a real issue.
That was changed.
We made a recommendation to the planning board, I don't know.
Oh, if
what-
it ever
I don't know
actually
what
got
the outcome ever was,
changed.
but, you know, that was that document was, you know, the pressure treated lumber and no salt,
Right.
just sand,
Mm-hmm.
so.
All these new apartments going in Merrimack, I think we all recommended they go green snow.
Mm-hmm.
Green Snow Pro.
Yep. Anything else on the salt presentation? We'll get the,
I will get that out to everyone.
great, and if, you know, if there are more questions, we can bring it up at the next meeting. Great. All right, we're gonna hop into old business now. First topic is the ARM Fund grant. Looking at 8 properties that we put on the top of the list. The GZA analysis is where we're taking this list from. Is the full comprehensive study that GZA did, is that complete?
Yeah, sent that out.
Okay.
You did?
I didn't get it. Yeah.
I didn't get that.
Sent that like 3 times.
I don't remember seeing it.
Maybe?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe it's too big, sorry, I sent it out, and you guys didn't get it, so I sent it out again.
The only thing that, because I went way back, the only thing that I
No.
have is from,
No, it's just recent, it's just,
Okay.
it was just before the last meeting.
all right.
Sorry, I didn't realize you didn't have it, but I sent it out again. See if you can find it.
Just
Well,
send it. Let's see.
If worst comes to worst, do you want to put it on a thumb
Yeah,
drive and
that's like, I could certainly, obviously, get it.
then Sharon can print it?
It's for May. That should say.
I had it from last time, so I got it
You got
last
it.
time.
You all need to learn how to work your phones. Eric's the only young one here. You
Yeah, that's right.
I check all my stuff from the computer.
Yep,
I
I
didn't
got
see it.
I got this one,
Okay, that's
but
good.
I didn't get the other ones because I was looking today too.
So you got your stuff to work on your phone again?
I'm sorry?
You got your stuff to work on, your email to work on your phone again?
No, Gage needs to look at that afterwards.
Oh,
I get into the website.
I might be able to help you on that, because I had that problem too, and I fixed that
Oh.
this morning.
can I sign up for
You're
lesson 2
out,
then?
Gage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Send it by young class.
That's right. I'm going to Eric.
So do,
Sent it, because I don't have it.
yeah, I don't have it either. Do we want to table this?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't get it. I got
We got
something else.
property markers and QR codes.
Yeah.
That's what I got, yeah, you're right.
Do we want to table this so that we can all be
Yeah, I'll reset this up.
acquainted with the top 8? Because this is where we're getting the top 8 from.
Mhm.
Correct. Is this where you're looking at the top 8 from, Gage?
Yeah, I mean, this is her,
8 top recommendations.
well, yeah, there's more than 8. but
Okay.
And they're broken down into preservation, restoration, or both.
Okay.
So there's you know, some things to manipulate, some categories to think about.
Yeah, for some reason that's not going through.
They,
If
there
you're
are,
not getting it, right? Are you sending it to Conservation Commission? So if you're not getting it, we're not getting it.
You need somebody to teach you,
It was an easy win for Eric.
but just so we're clear though, because the map had, it had wetland restoration targets and it had high valued lands.
Yep.
Which ones are we, which are the top 8 properties that we're taking from?
So in the report, there's an actual list.
Oh, okay.
She marked out which parcels, I think there's a parcel ID, yeah, there's a parcel ID on here and everything, so you can look at the actual, you can correspond that to the map. Because the map is all of the town, private parcels and public.
Okay.
It's everything.
Yeah. Okay, because I got 20 lands that they
Right.
separated, and then there's about, I'd say, maybe 25 or 30 wetlands that they targeted for restoration.
Yeah, there's 20, her list is 20 properties, top 20 properties.
Okay.
And then that map is the entire town.
Okay.
And the status of all of the land, regardless of who owns it or
Mhm.
who manages it. Right, yeah, I will make sure that this goes out. I mean, I can't believe it's not going, because she sent it to me. So my town mail received it.
You may have to send it to us all individually.
Yeah.
If sending it to the commission's not working, you may have to, hit each one of us.
Could you just convert the list to Microsoft Word and send that, because it's probably be, only like 100 kilobytes if you do it that way.
Yeah, it's probably the colors and the the pixels of the maps that are making it so huge. Okay. Thank you.
I'm sure Sharon has a copy of it, so.
So it can hit the minutes. Great. All right, so we'll table that one to next next meeting. The update map and safety zones. I never heard from the town manager, the chief, or Pete on that. So I guess we'll table that as well with Pete not being here. Eric, the next piece is yours.
Okay, so I mentioned last time, I was thinking about coming up with a new, just sort of educational programs, just kicking around ideas. And I went to my professor in college, who taught me in general biology, conservation biology, and aquatic ecology. And for his classes, a lot of times we would go out to Francistown Land Trust lands, which he was a board member of, and we perform just general studies to teach us the basics of conservation biology. And I always wanted to sort of convert those ideas into maybe sort of a high school program. So I sent him a couple emails. I took the 2 emails he sent me and put them into a summary. Most of these are sort of like what we did, same basic structure. I asked him for something that would be useful to the town, so not just studies that just for the sake of education, but something could be more than that. Stuff that would be useful for the students that they could actually learn from, and stuff that would be simple enough for high school students to understand and cheap enough for the town to actually approve of it. And this is the list they sent me. So I don't know how familiar everyone here is with conservation biology or like the methods of studying, but first thing he listed was tracking transects. That's when you take usually random coordinates in a property and you say take a coordinate, go in a direction of about 10 meters, it can vary, and recording everything in that section. And purpose is that if you do that study enough, eventually you get a really good idea of the makeup of the forest. There are different ways of doing that. There are line transects, belt transects, quadrant transects. So that's a really common way of doing it. It's pretty simple. It's really just identifying species and learning the basics of scientific experimenting. Document vernal pools. I don't have much study of that in the field for my job. That is really what I do in the lab, but I don't actually do that in the field, so I wouldn't know as much about that. But he does give us some materials that he sent me. These are guides that are about 80 pages long, so I didn't include them in the email. The rest, the email really covers it. I don't really have to explain much about that other than, no, I guess I don't have much to explain beyond what he explained to me. He also added another thing about bobolinks. I'm not sure if we have any 15-acre fields, but I did decide to include that just in case anyone was interested in that. So yeah, so this is something I've always been interested in doing. I have experience both. I work as a scientist now, and I'm not a former teacher, but I am a former educator at various places. So there are a few ways of thinking about, I've been thinking about doing it. I've been testing out some of these studies on the property behind my house. I live right by Indian Rock Open Space, which is between Wire Road and Joppa Road. This past week I've been just going out there, testing these studies out on that land, see, if I'm capable enough to actually teach them. My idea was sort of like an internship program. So when I was in middle school, I know the Conservation Commission did walks in Greater Woods. I was thinking something more specialized. It would be less students, but it'd be for like high school students who really want to, get into conservation biology. I was thinking maybe you could sort of turn this into a report, and so that student, when they're going to college, they can say, I participated in a scientific study that helped my town. I think it would look really good on a person's college resume. So yeah, I don't know if that could be done, if we could put together a program this year, or if it would maybe, work better with more planning and be something for the next school year. I also don't know if it would be something that would run throughout the entire year or just through the summer. That's the stuff that I'm sort of leaving up to you guys, but this would be something I'd be interested in teaching. I don't think it would cost much. Really, at the end of the day, you could say it could cost really almost nothing. It could range into the thousands if you want it to, but at the same time, it could also cost well under $100 for the entire program, really depending on how in-depth you want to get. Things like transects, those are very simple. You can do that with really just homemade supplies. Other stuff like sampling and stuff like that, that could cost something, but again, we're not, unless you really, really want to, we don't have to go above $1,000 or even $500. So that's it.
Is this geared towards high school, Eric?
Yeah, I was thinking high school. I mean, the program, it can be customized for really anything, but that's my idea. High school students, preparing them for college.
I think, Eric, you might find a lot of citizen scientists, people who like to get their hands dirty, might be interested in some of this stuff too.
Mhm.
Not necessarily formal students even. You know, I think about something like UNH Cooperative Extension has nature groupie, and there's a whole section of the volunteer things that are citizen science oriented. And what you're describing sounds like a lot of the walks that I sometimes see advertised there. Like helping the salamanders cross and things like that, and they do the count. You know, your stuff, I don't see a lot of like harder science stuff, but I think that there might be demand for that. You could gear it towards high school kids, or you could just make it more general than that, and you could even just lead it yourself as a volunteer and for fun, you know. I might sign up for a couple of these. Check out Nature Groupie anyway, if you're not familiar.
Yeah, they were at the NHACC
Sure, yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Is this something you're intending us to kind of think about, or are you trying to get a vote tonight, or?
Oh, no, not tonight.
No, okay.
Really, because
Kind of just a kickstart to,
yeah,
just thinking about
this
it?
is just sort of throwing out ideas. I was thinking about on my own, just sort of going throughout the properties for the next year or so, and just doing these studies myself, just to see how much people would actually be needed. Like, because I don't know, like, is this a one-person job? Is it a 5-person job? Is it a 20-person job? I don't know. So that's what I was thinking about, just going out on my own initiative, performing these studies, and just seeing how much information I can learn, how much more I would have to learn for it to be useful information. As I was like doing my research and seeing how I could translate what he wanted, what he does, to what we could do, I was really thinking that, you know, I want to try this myself first and then see how I could best bring it to Merrimack.
Well, one of the items on here in particular, number 2, the document and vernal pools, that's something we've been asked to do by Moosewood Ecological, who's done a lot of the studies for us. They come up and do that wetlands. They do the vernal pool party that we've had a couple times, we don't get very far into Greater Woods. I mean, you're still almost always on school property for the most part. That's how deep we get into it, and there's just a bountiful number of pools already. So that property has got a lot of water on it, and there's a lot of pools. So you want to now's the time to start too, because it's probably pretty wet up there. So in a lot of
Yeah,
places.
he says in the email the best part is late March into May for I guess that's mostly for turtles, but yeah. So yeah.
Isn't Jeff doing that now for Greater Woods? He did that for Horse Hill.
Yeah, well, he's doing a study. I'm not sure if he's really. I would imagine the output of that is going to have good documentation of where the pools are.
Yeah.
But this is, a vernal pool study would be. I don't know. That's
Because I know we did all the wetlands and Horse Hill
right.
when he did that study. And this is Greater Woods supposed to be a similar study.
Yep.
So
Yeah, he's. I've been in contact with him. He's almost done, and a lot of it's being compiled. Still looking for that one loose turtle.
You could be another one that got away. That's okay. Got a tracker on him.
If it doesn't expire at some point.
That's all right. Eventually it'll fall off too.
Is this something that you want to talk to? I mean, obviously, we'd need to get everything to a certain point as far as solidifying things, but is this something that we would need to talk to the school board, or?
Long term, yes. Because if unless you're trying to do this as an after-school activity and looking for volunteers. If this is going to be a curricular change, yes, this would be part of their.
Yeah, I don't think you're looking at it as a curricular change, are you?
I wasn't, although I mean, really open to all ideas.
Yeah, I mean, the biology department would have to be,
Yeah.
you know, they'd have to want to do something like this. And we did go after this a while ago, with one of the teachers, and, he was, you know, at the time, he was like, look, I have to come up with a whole lesson plan for this. So like, it's not something we can just, oh yeah, so we'll just go do this next week. I have to produce a lesson plan, goals and objectives of the lesson plan, bring it forward to the school, you know, let it matriculate through the school and say, okay, and get voted on and say, yes, we can do it.
Is that for class, or is that for like, something like a one-day field trip?
Well, it's saying, if we're gonna do this kind of as a project type of thing, that says, oh, we're just gonna take some kids out and do this type of thing, yeah, that's gonna be different. We're looking for volunteers. If this is gonna be a class, or have some type of, you know, output, like a study or a report that's documenting what's going on, it's gonna have to be officialized.
So things to think
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Because if it's an after-school thing, you're working, so this would not be something
Yeah,
that.
that's the thing I was thinking, like, I wouldn't know how often it would meet, which is another reason why I wanted to sort of do a precursor for about a year, just to see how much time this stuff does take.
All right. Well, we can certainly revisit it in a year. I mean, there's great ideas here.
Do you have any problem with me sharing some of this information and your contact information with some of the school board members?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay.
Who are you gonna share it with?
School board
Oh, okay.
members? Just, you know, something for them to think about. I mean, they're looking at curricula, so.
Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I think, you know, even if you don't get a huge turnout for students, I mean, Mike's already signed up.
I think I'd sign up too.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
It does
but
look
you'd have the whole group here.
Great, all right. We discussed doing the NHACC survey.
Yes, we did.
Didn't bring a computer.
I printed one, and a lot of these are, you know, some of these are just 200 characters or something like that. Maximum 200 words, maximum 110 words, maximum 200 words. So I was just gonna write it.
Okay.
And just so you know, I did fill out the contact information. I sent it, I got a confirmation back that they received it. So they're all set for an updated contact list.
Great, thank you, Jim.
Okay, so, the annual survey. Do you have a copy?
I do.
Does everybody have their copy?
Yes.
So, what does the NHACC provide that you find helpful? Check all that apply. Newsletters?
Yes.
Annual meeting and conference?
Yes.
Phone conversations with the Office for Help?
Historically, yes.
So there's
You've called them?
I have.
Oh,
Handbooks?
When Nick was.
yeah,
I
that's
have
true. Yeah.
Recent, more, you know, more
Yeah.
recently.
I don't think I've ever called them. I've always used emails.
The handbooks, I would say, are great, especially when we have a new commissioner. I
Yeah,
think.
that's a great book to
It
get
is.
started with.
Other.
what's all the above there, yes.
They did not give us that choice, but
They gave
for
us-
other,
They gave us other, yes.
yeah, they say, please specify the answer to other. So what other things? They say, for example, training/workshops.
Really, training workshops, I mean, I went to those at the conference,
Right.
so it's really already included.
All right.
Let me know when they have a different one.
I like all the vegan
When
food
they
at the
share
conference.
what's going on.
I like all the vegan food at the conference.
Oh, the food at the conference?
All the vegan food.
All the vegan food?
Yeah. It's cool. I don't ever get to eat that way.
Yeah,
I'm
they
gonna
had,
say that.
there's meat lasagna and vegan lasagna this year.
Oh, they actually had meat this year?
Yeah, they had
Oh,
meat this year.
wow. Sure wasn't tofu?
Ultimate
I didn't look into it
lasagna.
enough.
right, so I'm gonna say training workshops and all the vegan food. You're gonna get cheeky, I'm
No,
gonna let it go.
Carol's gonna know where that came from, too.
Good thing it's not Carolyn.
Yeah.
Harbor, right?
What does NHACC provide that you feel is unnecessary? Well, nothing. Everything that they gave us, we just said is necessary.
Put
So-
vegan food in there again?
No.
No, the vegan food stays. How about if I say the non-vegan food?
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Meat
got it.
lasagna.
That's
I'm
good.
writing that down.
No.
I'm just gonna say we like everything.
Yeah.
NHACC regularly monitors legislation related to conservation on the state level and provides legislative updates for you. Check all that apply. This information is helpful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our commission reviews the legislative updates at our meetings.
We really don't.
We really don't.
Really don't.
We only did like once, but yeah, we probably should.
We should do that
We
more.
should do that more.
Yep.
Okay, we have taken action as a result of the updates.
We have.
We've written letters.
And
Okay.
we've signed a,
Not a petition, but a.
yeah, it was a petition.
It was a petition,
Okay,
yeah.
Sure.
All right, and the last one is this service is not useful, which does not apply. So the question is, what legislative or state priorities would you like the NHACC to focus on?
What's most important?
Changes to RSA 36-A.
To RSA
Explain.
36-A.
That's the
Conservation Commission.
RSA. And
Okay.
we want to know anyone who's proposing changes to that RSA, because that changes the way we do business potentially.
You want me to write that whole thing down or just changes to RSA 36-A?
That says it all.
That says it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Anything else?
Go ahead.
Do you want me to ask
You
for
have
the,
a
for the
voice.
recipe for the vegan
Changes to
lasagna?
fishing game.
Go.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's not
To
outrageous.
the board, to
Well,
the-
that's, you know, changes the Fish and Game Department, period. That's, we wanna know about them. You know, regardless of what direction they go in.
Right. Yes. Well, and I would say, Conservation Commission's being represented, you know, in the group, because we're not now.
Do you want me to say,
Specifically conservation people, you know, exclusively conservation people.
do you want me to say changes to Fish and Game Department as it pertains to conservation commissions?
I would just leave it open.
Yeah,
Or just any changes.
or just any changes, yeah.
Okay. Is that it? Anything else? Okay. What are the 3 most critical issues facing conservation that we need to respond to over the next 3 years?
Land protection,
What is it?
climate change, land protection.
Water quality.
Well,
Yeah,
do we
water-
want to put down climate
water
change?
Pollution in general. Water quality, yeah.
Water quality?
The what?
Probably pollution in general.
All right, so far I have water quality and climate change. What's the third?
Well, land protection.
Land protection? So I have water quality, climate change, and land protection. Do we want to make any changes to those, or are those good as they are? Good? Okay. What one change or action would have the biggest impact on your commission and why? Maximum 110 words.
Unlimited funding.
Didn't hear.
Unlimited funding?
State funding.
Oh, state funding, oh,
Yep.
okay.
Oh, yes, like
State
for,
funding.
yeah, that land
Limited.
acquisition and all that stuff.
Do we want to put that down?
You have 100 words, you can just write money 100 times.
Yeah.
You want to say, I mean,
Well, I don't wanna, I mean, we have money.
Yeah, we're not one of
What-
the
what-
towns.
what- you know, what, was that, is it, if all of a sudden we had access to another couple $1,000s a year, is it gonna change what we do?
No.
You know, cause I mean, if they state all of a sudden it's gonna fund conservation commissions, you know, $3 million a year, whatever do, and they break that up against all the commissions, I mean, we're not talking about a lot of money, you know? So,
get a couple
is
of
it really,
bridges out of
is that really gonna impact us?
No, but it might impact some.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Neighboring towns that are struggling.
Yeah, absolutely, but I mean, I think this is our one chance to be selfish,
It says
so to
your
speak.
commission.
It's our commission, you know, what one thing changes that's gonna impact us?
Could be like state laws, you know, protection laws,
Yeah.
like the water.
Yeah, I mean, look at what we did, we went through with the Kinder Morgan.
Yeah.
I mean, all the, you know, open wet trenching and all that stuff, I mean, those things, that's stuff that was allowed. It is allowed,
wow, I guess
you know,
that's,
so,
that's something that, the ability for the state to overrule federal laws. If the federal laws are gonna hurt our state,
yeah,
do we wanna put that down?
yeah, I mean, that's, well, I don't know.
Put
do we?
down a few things and we can circle them.
We dealt with a lot here between the pipeline,
Yeah.
PFAS, now we're talking about the salt earlier. There's a lot of affects this town.
I mean, what's one thing that would have a huge impact on us? What's one thing that we complain about a lot? Huh?
The town did something about that.
Yeah.
They did?
The town did
Illegal,
something about that.
illegal
Enforcement,
activity.
it's in general, enforcement.
Yes,
We,
enforcement
we
of-
feel we are absolutely hogtied by the lack of enforcement,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know, so.
That
there-
does come up in every meeting.
Yeah, I would love to have some way to go and say, look, you know, we're having the Alex Jordan drove through the Horse Hill and on a skidder. We could do nothing. We had
Right,
pictures,
so
we had the
we-
police, we had nothing.
So tell me this so that I can write it.
That, I don't know, how do you say that? You know, what's the one thing that would have our biggest impact is, you know, state level enforcement. You know, have an avenue to gain state level enforcement.
Illegal activity.
Yeah, I mean, of, you know,
Activities on our land.
yeah.
The assistance of state.
You're being very
law
quiet,
enforcement.
making me nervous.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm not sure that one.
Well,
I fear someone's gonna make a play for our money,
yep,
right? A change in the conservation funds, so we no longer have access to that money or it gets turned back in. So,
yep,
That would hurt.
yeah, well, it would be, but I mean, that's, the NHACC can't really do much at the state
Yeah,
level about that.
Right,
I mean, that's,
yeah.
Those are good answers.
All right, so they say what one change of action. So I have the ability to overrule federal laws if the federal law doesn't protect our town, or the assistance of state level enforcement on our Conservation Commission properties. Which one do you want to go with, first one or second one?
Second one.
Second one?
That's me
yeah.
talking.
Well,
Yeah.
to me, the first one's, while I agree with you, I think it's a.
Not that
it's-
NHACC is
yeah.
gonna have anything.
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
with it.
All right, so the assistance of state level enforcement on our Conservation Commission properties. Okay. What are you struggling with, and could we help you with this?
You know.
Oh, yeah.
Enforcement on our conservation.
writing.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
grant writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grant-
Right.
You're writing.
Yeah.
Yeah, grant writing.
Yeah, we're gonna have top 8 properties, and we're gonna be in the,
Yeah.
then, okay, now that we've paid for this study, we have the top 8,
Yeah, grant writing.
let's write a grant.
Grant writing
On
assistance?
number 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
not a class on how to write a grant, but grant writing assistance.
We need
Yeah.
somebody who can write that grant
Write a
for us.
grant.
Yeah.
Yep. Right.
Yep.
I will tell you, I was up at the swap shop, and I saw a book on writing grants, and I grabbed it. It was writing grants for dummies. I'm like, I'll take that. So whoever left that at the swap shop, yep, whoever left that at the swap shop, thank you. I will be looking at it. Can't guarantee I'm going to learn anything, but I will try.
I did actually sign up for a grant writing class.
Is that the one in Concord?
It's all.
That's coming up. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
It was they had a waiting list, so they spread out a couple more classes. I
Is it
got in a
coming
later
up?
one. It's in May, I think.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
the same one that I was.
I think it's either in Concord or it's in Goffstown,
All right.
the county one.
Okay. Do you have recommendations for new programs or initiatives for NHACC? And if so, what are they? Include training and/or resources. Max 200 words. Okay, Eric, this is in your wheelhouse here.
Hmm?
This is new programs or initiatives.
You mean for the conference? Oh, because, right, I was proposing new stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys said you need grant writing assistance. Maybe they could have a more active grant writing program. I don't think at the conference there was a grant writing class.
I'm not sure. For some reason, I think I took one the first year.
Yeah,
Maybe it was-
historically there
In
hasn't
the
been.
past,
Yeah,
I don't know if there was
I don't
this
remember
past
one being
year.
offered this year.
yeah, they might not offer them every single year. All right, well, we don't have to answer that, so.
The one class, I remember taking a class there about funding, and it I don't know, I just didn't really feel like I got much out of it. I mean, I would think that there, you know, the way we're funded, you know, I'd almost like, that'd be great if what we've done would be something that could get written into the RSAs, is that's a legal method or a good method for conservation commissions to get funded. Because now you put some impetus on the town to create a conservation commission and allow it to be funded. Because right now, all that RSA is just, yeah, you can have one.
You're required to have one.
Yeah. Well-
So give that to me again so I can write it down with a maximum of 200 words.
Well, so our primary method of funding was through the LUCT method. We take the tax dollars that were levied against property that came out of current use.
Okay, the next thing might address that too, but let's keep going here. So our primary method of funding is land use.
Change tax.
Change tax,
Yep.
LUCT, okay.
I mean, so having prescribed methods for funding for, you know, within the RSA, so Conservation Commission doesn't, you know, okay, great, there's one now. You're useless, you can't do anything. If you have money, they have an ability to do something.
So having prescribed methods of funding in the RSA
Yep.
would be helpful.
Other prescribed methods, is that what you're saying?
No, that's saying, if there was a prescribed method, and that's, so you can't, you know, they're being forced to make a conservation commission, but it's got no money, and then it's not gonna be funded, so it can't do anything. So it'd be just nice if they're forced to do it, make it real.
All right, so our primary method of funding is LUCT. Having prescribed methods of funding outlined in the RSA would be helpful. Good? Okay. Which the next question addresses that. It says, help us keep our land use tax information updated. Does your municipality allocate land use change tax to the conservation fund? Yes. So that really doesn't do anything. What is the percentage amount of land use change tax that is allocated to the conservation fund? I don't know. 50%?
Under $1 million.
It's 50% until the fund reaches $1 million, then it becomes zero.
Is that per year or just period?
Period.
I think it's around 50% of what comes into the town's lot is
Okay.
less than $10,000 at this point.
Yeah, there's not a lot of large parcels left that are going.
All right, so this needs to be electronically submitted, so I will go on tomorrow and I will fill in all of our information and submit it. And
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, Gina.
Yes, you are welcome. Okay, does anybody want a copy of the member update form? I mean, you all have the information, it basically is just our email addresses. And then they wanted a mailing address. I gave the town mailing address, I didn't give any.
6 Wapusa Cliff Road or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep,
So,
good plan.
yes. I don't even know everybody's personal address anyways. All right. And that is that. Okay.
Thank you, Gina.
You're welcome.
I'll do this a little bit differently this month. So other business starts with discussion of communications or correspondence received by the MCC. Gina handled one piece for us, thank you very much. I don't have anything else. Sometimes Tim has things.
I had something I was gonna put in the update from commissioners, but I can speak to it now. We are tentatively scheduled to appear on April 23rd at the town council to discuss chapter 111.
Oh, awesome.
I requested an April date because I wanted to have the new sitting council to talk to, not talk to the current council and then have maybe 2 members get changed during the election process and have 2 new members that could sway or change the way the council goes. So I asked to have the conversation after the election's complete.
What day of the week is that?
That's a Thursday, I believe. I have to look at my calendar, but I would imagine it's a Thursday.
When,
okay.
when is the election? April 10th?
It's the second
I wanna say
Tuesday in
it's
April.
Second Tuesday, yeah.
I wanna say it's the 14th,
Okay.
because it's the same day as.
Tuesday, 14th, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same day as the Wildcat Falls meeting, so we probably won't end up having that, because I usually ballot check.
It's a good reminder for everybody in town, April 14th. Voting day.
Mom's tax day, yeah.
Along the same lines, the school board deliberative session is tomorrow night, 7 o'clock.
I will be there.
Subcommittee updates. Greater Woods has their next meeting on March 31st.
Matt was kind enough to sit in for me on the last Horse Hill Subcommittee meeting. I can't recall offhand when the next one is, but they just had one, which was reported on last meeting.
So quarterly, so that one's a couple months out.
Yeah, it's a while.
And you just gave us your.
Well, and I'm not going to be counting on a moonlight snowshoe walk on March 9th.
Yeah, a week from today, right?
Yeah,
50 today, 60 tomorrow.
yeah,
Out in snow.
yeah. Hopefully next year, hopefully we'll try again. So.
Just get together and walk in the
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. See if Liz wants to join us.
I'll sign up.
See?
Okay.
All right, so we'll roll into the presentation of the February 10th minutes.
All right, I'll make a
Accepted.
motion. I will make a motion. Hey,
Yeah, I got it.
Gina's making a motion.
What they do?
That the Merrimack Conservation Commission approve the minutes of February 10th, 2020 with changes as follows.
Yes. Skim through.
Who seconded?
I'm sorry,
Second?
what?
Did you second?
What was the original, oh, you just make it a motion?
Paige was talking
We were, Tim and I were having a sidebar.
We are having,
Can you share that with the group?
Yes,
yes, your email now has the final report.
yeah, your email came through,
Okay.
so.
It just took a while. Okay, so I made the motion and Matt seconded it. I didn't see anything. They look. You look?
I missed the meeting, so.
That's okay. That's okay. I didn't see a thing.
I thought that looked pretty good.
Yep. I didn't have anything. Cindy's desperate, looking for some period that's out of.
I didn't think I just would double check that. I didn't think I had anything either. It's funny, I did look up cataloging to see, you know, there's a difference between
Can I just give a
UK
shout out?
versus the US, but.
Shout out for how fabulous Dawn is. Dawn is fabulous. I
Yes.
love Dawn.
Oh, she does such a good job.
Dawn is amazing.
That's
She even,
work.
she even sent Matt and I the minutes from the salt mitigation thing, which just was,
Yeah.
and I dropped the ball because I should have sent them to everybody, but she
Yep.
is great. Dawn, thank you.
Yep. She does. She keeps you out of trouble. She keeps you completely out of trouble. It's
She
great.
really does. She really does.
We want this thank you in the minutes. No,
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna have to count, so minutes, all those in favor? 5. Anybody opposed? Abstentions? 2? Okay,
Wait a minute, oh, so 2 people are abstaining?
yeah.
Okay.
5, 0, 2.
I don't know.
She's penalized.
You let it happen. I know, that's all right.
I haven't even looked at her all meeting. You just skip it over. All right.
Yeah, it's gonna skip me.
Public comment.
You've been very patient over there. Do
We
you
have
have
new
public
business?
comment?
Do we skip new business? We did? Oh. All right. Yeah.
Covered.
All right.
All right. No comments.
I have a question. Do I have to go over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
That's
do.
all right, the camera's not aimed at you, the camera's aimed over here. You just want to sign in? And state your name and make sure the green light's on.
This way you won't be referred to as unknown member of the public like I was in my first meeting.
Mike Druin, 3 Druin Way. I just moved here, 1st of January. I was living in Hudson. Before that, I was in the Navy, so, you know, I got to see quite a bit of the world. You know, I've always loved nature. So when I came back from the Navy, I got on the Hudson Conservation Commission. And, you know, now I'm here. So I'm looking to get involved, you know, in some way. In Hudson, we tried to get people out on the properties. We have a number of properties. We only have like one really big one, and the rest are all kind of small. But nobody knew about any of them. So we held hikes every month. We go to a different property, and that's still going on. I was wondering if you guys had a group like that, a hike in Merrimack.
We don't host it. The Conservation Commission doesn't host a hike series. However, there are a lot of meetup groups that use our properties. Unlike, you know, what you guys experience in Hudson, our properties are very well used. You know, you've seen our maps.
Yeah.
And our website that points people to these properties. The trails are marked and mapped, and you know, it's a really user-friendly experience on our properties because we have a lot of traffic, a lot of trails, and we've taken the time to do mapping and marking.
Yeah.
Is that something you're saying you'd like to start doing?
Well, I'm just looking to get involved. You know, I have a lot of time on my hands.
Well, because we have a few subcommittees, and they're focused on each parcel. But you know, it's not uncommon. I'm sure I'm not the only one that you run into your neighbors and friends and stuff like that. And like, I had no idea that was there. So we've got meetup routes that people that are socially active and savvy with their phone, they know these meetup routes, they show up the right places and they go on these hikes. I got my neighbor who's like, we got property over there? It's like, yeah, you got 600 acres right there. Really? There's trails? Yeah, so, it wouldn't be an outrageous idea to say that we have a monthly or weekly or some type of scheduled walk series that goes through the parcels. Wouldn't be
Great idea.
wouldn't be an awful idea,
That would be a great idea.
We've done it at different times.
Yeah.
We just haven't been consistent about it.
Right.
So,
That's what I'm saying, is that, we tried to kind of put it on each subcommittee to do that, and it works a little bit, but if there was a, if,
You live close to?
I live off of Tinker Road. I haven't really looked at the map around
Live near
there.
me, I live on Dumbarton.
Yeah.
So you're closest to Horse Hill.
Yeah.
Have you been
Oh, actually,
in the
Wasserman.
Horse Hill yet?
Oh, no.
Big parking lot out on Amherst Road.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You're familiar with our Merrimack Outdoors website?
Yes. I was trying to get Hudson to adopt that. Hudson doesn't have, we have a pamphlet you can download, but it's pretty outdated and doesn't have half the properties.
See, you saw Merrimack has good properties and it has a street with your name, so.
Well, my father developed it, so.
Oh, he did? Ah, that explains it.
Yeah, it was my aunt's farm, and she was gonna lose the farm, so he bought it, and then the house burnt down.
Oh,
And so he decided he'd put a street in, and as his buddy had houses to move, he would move the houses to the street. So it became a
Wow.
neighborhood.
Wow.
that's
Somebody-
interesting.
somebody built houses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far as subcommittees go, if you were interested in being on a subcommittee, that would be terrific.
Yeah.
If you were interested in working up a monthly or regular, it doesn't have to be monthly, any scheduled time hike, that would be great. There's a lot of opportunities. Do you know how to build bridges? There's always been bridge building.
I'm pretty good at rigging things together. I have quite a few things I picked up in the Navy.
Because we're talking about starting a Wasserman subcommittee, weren't we?
Yeah, Wasserman Subcommittee.
Sklar?
Fields Farm.
Fields Farm?
Subcommittee.
Yeah.
Sklar. Sklar's a waterfront. You said you were in the Navy?
Yeah.
Oh, hey.
Saltwater. Saltwater.
Have you been down to the new Sklar property?
Oh, no.
Okay, so if you go down to the end of Continental and you go across the light, and then you go down and you go under the railroad tracks, and then you come out to where the, Flying Eagles?
Well,
And then park your car around there, and then just, you walk down, you can go down to the river, but all the land that's off to the right now is land that we've purchased. So we're looking to, we're working on some of the ATV damage, or is it off-road, HRV damage. But there's a lot that can be done there. So if you're interested in that, Mike Warver has been working that for a while. So we definitely need people on a subcommittee for that. Wasserman, we need people to spearhead a subcommittee for that. Fields Farm, there's lots of opportunities. Did you put your email address on there too?
No.
Okay, why don't you do that? That way we'll be able to get in touch with you.
Have you had a chance to hang out on any of the properties? Do you have a favorite?
No, I haven't really. I just got settled in. I lived here briefly while I was in the Navy. But, when I came back on leave, that was my main focus, to explore.
Welcome back to Merrimack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, whatever you need help with, just let me know. I'm pretty flexible.
That's
I'm
wonderful.
always looking to do something.
Great.
Well, we're happy to have you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we'll be in touch.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks. stay for the rest of the meeting, or?
Yeah, it's almost.
Okay.
Just commissioner comments left.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Mike, you wanna start commissioner comments this week?
No comment.
Just had one thing. I did, I think we have a tentative date this week. Mike and I will meet Commissioner, or Conservation Officer McFadden down at Scalar. He definitely said he had an interest in collecting our feedback and maybe doing some, tailoring some enforcement down there, some OHRV enforcement.
Great.
Nice.
I think if that pans out, he'll know we're a credible source for property misusers, and maybe that'll open up the door for, we can give him some more feedback and get help elsewhere.
Maybe we can get on TV?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, really.
Not us, our property.
So Mike's graciously volunteered to join me down there when we meet with him this week.
It'd be good to get him down there.
Yeah.
He was extremely familiar with the property. I think I might have mentioned this at a previous meeting, but he's been down there the last fall and the last spring. He understands mud seasons are when people are inflicting the most damage down there.
Yeah.
I said all that with my microphone off. And I've just realized that.
Oh, now I have to say it all again.
Well, thank you guys, that's great, that will be huge.
I have nothing tonight.
Cindy and I were at the Winter Carnival. I'll let Cindy talk about it, because I'm just going to introduce you. I have new friends.
Huh?
I have new friends for next year's Winter Carnival. I
Oh.
couldn't wait.
Get some more plushies?
Yeah, I know.
Been sewing?
So this is our Downy Woodpecker, and I'll let him make the noise, because the rest of them are really loud.
You didn't sew that.
I did not sew that, I bought it on Amazon. And we have a very loud chickadee,
Oh, nice.
and we have an even louder blue jay.
Oh,
I
the
don't like
kids
the
will love those.
Blue jays can get
Kids
very
will love
cheeky.
that.
I can't imagine having milk in my house. My dog would rip
So
those things apart in
next
like
year,
minutes.
I will
Oh, really? You
My
make
put
dog-
something
Oh, yeah,
together, and we'll have
They make
our,
noise.
our story about the birds, because these are birds that you will find in all of our properties,
Ah.
except for these who are always at the bird feeder, bullying these. So, anyway, so we have some new friends.
Oh, come
because
on,
I
you
would-
gotta squeeze them all.
He's loud.
That's pretty good, yeah?
This one's not too loud. The kids get a kick out of him, and the thing that I've learned, and I'm sure Cindy will tell you too, is with the Winter Carnival, it's kids. Kids are coming through, and kids need to, they want to see something that is interactive. So, but I'll let Cindy tell you about everything else that we did. I'm taking my friends.
You're taking your friends. No,
My
Gina,
friends are going to live with me until next winter.
I just showed up. Gina had everything prepared. She did a great job of like a board with the maps on it, and she brought a bunch of like books and bird information that they could look through. And then she had the duck box with the plushies, which the kids wanted. She's like, "Can I have one?" I'm like, "No, we need a book." He's like, "We have two." So the guy wanted to take one. But yeah, but they love that, and the adults too. Really like looking at the duck box.
The duck box was a big hit.
Yeah, big hit.
Big,
Mhm.
big, 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 big hit.
Any kids shove their fingers in it?
Well, no, because what we ended up doing was, sorry to disappoint.
Oh,
What we ended up doing was, I kept it up because it tilts, so my husband set it up so that I could tie it to a chair, but then we realized we couldn't tie it to a chair because then you couldn't open it, so I put it up and I said to the kids, "Do you want to see the sleeping duckies?" And of course, I disappointed some children because I thought that they were real duckies, but anyway. But no, they got a big kick out of them. But every year I'll add a couple new little plushies and we'll work them in and out because the kids will get bored of them. You see that a lot of the times the same kids will show up, It's a Merrimack family event, although we do have a lot of people coming from out of the town to see it. So
Yeah,
it was very well attended.
Oh, very well attended.
Did Matt give you numbers or
No,
no?
I will
Bigger
ask
than
him.
normal or?
No, I don't think it was any bigger than last year. I did notice, and I was kind of sad about it, there were a lot more food vendors, and I think it kind of hurt Merrimack Friends and Family, so, yeah.
I saw the competition coming.
I was sad about that, because all of Merrimack Friends and Family money goes back to the community, whereas the other vendors that come in, I'm sure that they are charged for it, but I was kind of sad, because I know a lot of the Merrimack Friends and Family members, so I was sad, because they said they probably would take a loss this year. So if you go next year, go get a hot dog from Merrimack Friends and Family. And
That I
come in-
can't endorse, of course, but.
No.
Tofu
Donate
dog.
money, just
To-
donate money.
Donate
I'll-
money.
I'll endorse that.
Yeah.
Go get a tofu dog.
Right,
Yeah.
tofu dog.
Yeah.
You should have a tofu dog.
That's a good
They'll sell even less.
idea. Oh.
Eric?
No
That is
comment.
done with that.
Anything else?
No, just thank Gina for getting that all together. Like I said, I just showed up.
Thank you
She had
both.
it all.
Yeah, thank you girls for
All done.
for taking
Cindy,
it.
Cindy and Joe carried a lot of the stuff up the hill, which was good, because I pulled in and brought everything in, but then I'm thinking, that hill going up to that's a big hill for someone who's out of shape like me.
Aw.
That should be my exercise, go walk up that hill every day.
Anything to?
No, I will probably miss the next meeting. I have another thing and I'm not sure I can get out of it, so.
Maps. I don't know if any of you got a chance to look at your email before you came here.
Oh,
No.
I almost lost some coffee when I looked at that email.
I did not see it, what did
Yeah.
it say?
Why?
The Scalar.
Scalar Water Park?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, so again, so you'll notice that I did say in that these are first draft editions. And yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that too, I was like, yeah, that's not gonna be well.
It is a park and it has,
Yeah, well,
it's technically true.
well, yeah, but it's supposed to be called the Waterfront Park, so.
Yeah.
But,
I just saw the kids lining up with their floaties.
Where's the slide? Where's the lazy river?
yeah, go ahead.
This one's not so lazy.
Your parents can pick you up down Lawrence. No, but the big signs are 18 by 36, which I think is probably a little too big for what we're looking for. I think we were looking for kind of a top banner on the
Right.
kiosks.
Yeah.
So maybe narrower, so that means that the font's gonna have to get a lot smaller too, because those are, he said those are 18. Obviously, there's a lot of, you can see that there's a lot of space. You could probably cut it down, you can get it down to, maybe what, 10, 12? That still takes up a good chunk of the top of the kiosk. So do we have a size that we wanna lose at the top of the kiosk for the signs? I mean, 6 inches type thing that you're gonna lose across the top of the kiosk?
I think 7-8 inches would be fine.
Think so? And then, so is this gonna be inside the plastic?
Yeah.
Behind the screen, so not just, 7 or 8 inches, really?
Well, because those two kiosks at Scalar, they have almost nothing in them.
So, are these only gonna do these two properties? We're not gonna do one for all of the,
The others kind of have, like Horse Hill at the Amherst Road, it has the Horse
okay?
Hill.
So these are the,
School has, they have so much information in there. Our map's a small piece of it. It's a lot of school stuff that actually has school logo and that's kind of their kiosk. The other ones we have are, Greater Woods at the top. Smaller ones. But there's a lot of empty space in the kiosk, especially the Wasserman Park
yeah,
one.
right, so you want 8 inch, maximum 8 inch height?
Yeah, I
And,
think that would be fine in both of those.
and we said those, but they're 36 inches wide.
I don't know if 36 would fit.
Well, yeah, it's just foam core.
So So we could cut it down?
Yep.
Okay.
But I can have them, do you know what they are? Like 24?
I think, I mean,
Even if it's
36 would be fine in Wasserman, but I think the Scalar one is more of like a square rather than a, you know.
Yep.
So, I don't know what the dimension is. We could probably look at his plans.
there on Friday.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting to have them actually print these out. Not you, I meant paper graphics. That, because he, you know, all those pictures of the, they were actually printed and made. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's the royal blue. That's Merrimack's color. So that's why we.
So he already had those done?
Yeah, he actually made those. They're real. Well.
Yeah, I think he should have that in his house.
Oh,
But-
we just cut off the bottom and just leave it Scalar.
Well, the other thing that he had, the other things that he had printed out that if you wanna hold those up, are the maps with the QR codes. So we took the one picture of the front of each map and put a QR code on it. That really wasn't, I don't think, what we were really initially going after, but they look pretty good.
Mhm.
So is that, the only thing I wanna have him change is I want him to put his logo on there. He took his logo off in lieu of some of the work, so. Again, this is Paper Graphics is doing us a huge favor, so I wanna give them as much support as possible, so. But do we want those full-size pieces like that, or do we want just a little smaller set?
For the kiosks?
Yeah.
I mean, Wasserman needs something in there. It's-
Well, not, but I mean, initially we were thinking about, because we talked about, hey, have you checked out our other properties? And having a list of QR codes for the other properties in all the kiosks. And that's not really gonna lend itself to that style. I mean, we could have Greater Woods in a QR code, and, you know, Wasserman a QR code, Wholesale QR code, you know, just in a small banner. That's gonna be very helpful for maps, you know, it's like, hey, you know, here's the map. So I'd like to see that in a kiosk, but it's not gonna support really looking at other properties.
Do we have a cooperative agreement with Amherst for the Greater Road parking area? So many people come to our property from that parking lot. Like, we don't have any maps there, do we, for our maps? In the Amherst parking lot?
No, they have our big map.
So people can view
See
our
it.
big map on their kiosk?
On their kiosk, yes. It's not the same one that we produced. It's one that NRPC made for them to put in their kiosk, but it's our map.
Yeah, a lot of people come in that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that parking lot is almost always full.
So, thanks for sidebar. Back to the.
Yeah, well, those maps, you know.
Dude, he's obviously got some of those already printed out, so I was gonna take those, but do we want, is that what we're looking for? Or are we looking for something else?
I think that's great. Gina just had a picture of Scalar, and the kiosk shape is more like this, so it's narrow.
No. Okay. Well, it's
So-
pretty good size.
You think it's 3 feet wide?
It's big.
Yeah,
Probably,
I think so.
I think so.
Alright.
Look at the, I mean, he's standing next to it. He could fit in there. He could fit across the front of that at least two and a half times.
Yeah, you
Well,
didn't
then-
see it with
It's a big kiosk.
next to it.
Yeah, that might be fine then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is the question about the brochure maps or something blown up for the kiosk? Or both?
Well, I guess, to me, that, I don't think those are maps. I think those are just
Oh, you
the
don't
front,
think-
I think those are just the front page and a QR code.
I was assuming they were the actual brochures and they just changed
No, 'cause
the
I
cover.
think, does anyone have a map?
It's fine.
I think, do we have a map? Because it's already on the map.
Yeah, but this is so much more.
Right, so that, but we were just gonna post that and say, look, you know, because when the map box is empty, well, here. You know,
Oh, so put that
Yeah,
on
just-
the front of the map box.
or just
Or
up in,
in
or
the
just in the,
kiosk?
or just in the kiosk, just, you know, it's just that picture with the
Okay.
QR code, and say, here's, you know, a downloadable version of the map.
Yeah.
That's a
I'm sorry. I
Good
didn't show you
idea.
the picture.
Okay. I think you could have that printed on the front of the reprints eventually, and then have a bigger version. It could look identical to the cover
I mean, that's,
in the kiosk too, right?
well, yeah, that's what,
That's essentially what it is,
that's,
right?
that's, it's this cover with the QR code.
Yeah.
And he just changed some spacing so it would fit,
But the purpose is solely for the kiosks,
that
to
was,
put behind Plexi.
yeah.
Because it could go on the map more prominently too, and match what's
Yeah.
behind the Plexi.
Well, it's the thing is, because when people have the map, they don't.
Subsequent run.
Yeah.
Because maybe it could work as a transition, because eventually we won't have the paper maps, or want to lean against those, and we start by introducing a big fat QR code on the front.
And then we end up putting that, a plastic version of that, on each post,
On each post.
and we stop providing maps. Because then people are out in the woods and they can just go, boop,
Right.
where am I?
We did not get a lot of people asking for maps at the Winter Carnival, couple. And
I think a lot of people don't realize there are trails there, honestly.
Well, all right, so we're gonna leave those the way they are, and I'll go
think they look
grab
good.
those.
Yeah.
We need, I think he said there's 3 or 4 of each.
But they're gonna stay the same size as the maps?
They're
brochures?
they're this big.
And that's what you want to put in the kiosk.
That's what I was thinking we were trying to put in the kiosk, yes.
I personally think it's kind of small, but that's just my opinion.
Well,
For the permanent, visible one for everybody.
So they can still be able to scan it through the plexiglass?
right.
Yes, I see that as somebody goes looking for a map, the map box empty, which
Right.
Yeah.
sometimes they are,
Yeah.
and they see that and go, well, I'll just do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, about 40 or 50% of the people will know what that is. The rest of the people won't.
That's
Yeah.
true too.
That's okay. They just walk, they're
Yeah.
just dog walkers on the poop.
Yeah.
anyways.
And that will shift over time too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will.
The people that don't know what that is probably have a compass and can get out of the woods.
No, they can't do that either.
Yeah.
They have a flip phone, they dial 911.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, somebody that asked for maps didn't have a smartphone, so.
I mean, Gage, if these are just gonna be the same size as the maps,
Yep.
why not just print that on the front of the maps and we can slip the maps behind the kiosk? It's just not a separate thing.
We
And
can
then it's
do
like
that.
the last copy, if all of them have run out, there's the golden ticket for someone with a phone.
Yeah, so it's gonna make the front of our pretty maps not so pretty.
Oh, is that what it is?
Well, it will.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean,
Yeah,
well, it's,
those pictures.
is that,
Actually a good idea, right?
is that,
There's already a QR code.
yeah, it's in the back.
on it.
It's small, but it works.
I mean, you guys pointed out to me, but as a user before I was over here, I never noticed that thing. I just didn't. I would just keep taking maps, and they would disintegrate in my pocket, and I would get more, and then when they run out, I would go to a different trailhead and take their maps.
So you're one of those people.
Yeah.
More than
Well,
one map.
At least he didn't leave them.
Eventually, I had all the trails memorized. Like, I didn't really know about Grader. I didn't grow up in that area, but Horse Hill, I didn't even need the map at all.
Well, do you want the face of these to be a QR code?
Defaced.
I think that the bottom 25% or something, that could be a bigger.
I mean, is it worth it to have the QR code, I don't know, in some weatherproof form in 3 or 4 places along through the woods or anything, in case people are lost and they're like, oh, look, a QR code?
As long as we have a caption that says, need a map, scan our code,
Yeah.
right?
I think that, though, is the start of that. If you
Sure.
have that in the kiosk, people get kind of used to seeing that,
Right.
and then we start introducing them in the trails or at the, like at Horse Hill, like post 3 there, like at Mark 3, you could put one on that area, and that's the person kind of like, okay, I'm gonna venture off the poop loop for the first time.
Right.
Oh, there's that QR code thing,
Yeah.
So that with the, download our map here, or type of thing, whatever, some
Yeah.
verbiage like that.
Eventually, but I think that's a great start to get those in the kiosk. Yeah, I mean, size-wise, I don't know if that's the right. I think they're fine. It's not,
Yep.
They already did it too.
Yeah.
It's also simple, right? I mean, if you wanted to put them on the maps, then in subsequent runs, all you have to do is swap that out with the latest edition of the map. You don't have to print out some separate thing special.
Right.
Yeah.
It's easy. And you can put the other ones in foreign kiosks to introduce people, and they can scan it.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, I'm going to drive across town. I've never tried Greater Woods,
I thought the ones that you printed out, kiosks were a little different than our regular maps because of sun
Yes.
coming in and things.
Definitely.
The maps,
Whatever we asked.
the maps that he
we were
printed
gonna
out.
put in the kiosk.
Big
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wonder if these are like that, as opposed to just putting the regular
I
map.
did not ask him that.
Okay.
I did not. But the problem is those big maps, not the problem, but those big maps don't have the QR code.
Right. I was just
Yeah.
thinking the difference between, if there was a difference between those versus what you're holding.
There is a difference, right?
Well,
Is that the NRTC
she's
map?
saying she's saying ink-wise.
Oh.
Yeah. was.
Here's
But-
a dumb question from, I'm dating myself because there was a time before everybody had computers when I was a secretary that we would cut and paste stuff. What if we just cut and pasted a QR code up on the top of the map in the kiosk?
Yeah, you can
And
do
people could
Yeah, we can do
use
that.
that instead
but,
of
yeah.
messing with our pretty maps.
that. It's easy to add on after.
Right, but it's the same, that's kind of what that is.
So these are a couple of
Yeah.
like, try this, see if you like this kind of thing. And I think they already exist. We should try them.
Sure. How many exist?
All great ideas.
I think
you said 3 of each.
I think you got 3 of each.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try them.
And this is him doing this for free for us.
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
this is very cool.
Yeah. So, and the last thing is, how many maps do we need? Of what, we go through a lot more Greater Woods and Horse Hill than we do with Wasserman and.
We go through a lot at Wildcat too,
I bet.
surprisingly, but people come in from out of town and grab them.
So how many maps do we want of each?
Do you remember how many we had before?
I think we did, no, we did more than that. I think we did 5,000 each.
Oh, really?
5,000?
I think so.
much
'Cause
is one of
we
those
had
boxes?
4 or 5 boxes of each one.
Wow.
And I picked them
I'll
up.
take
But
as-
my back seat was full.
Okay,
I mean, I
I'll
was-
take
We went
as
through
many
all
as we can get
Well,
from Wildcat.
that was 4 years ago?
Yeah, that was a while,
All right.
4 years ago.
because we've been out for over a
Right.
year at Wildcat.
April 2017.
Okay. Yeah, we've been out for over a year.
3 years ago.
So it's 3 years ago. I think we did a lot. We did like 2,500 or 5,000, I think, of all the maps. We had boxes of them.
I do the same because it's gonna be a while before we update the maps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we just find out what the original order was and do that same thing again, because we've ordered Horse Hill twice.
We reordered.
We reordered Horse Hill
Since then,
twice?
Yeah.
Once or twice.
But that place
And-
goes through so many maps. 'cause
and I think-
people like the
and-
maps.
and-
It's been like 2 years since I took any maps.
All right, so I'll find out what the original,
Why were they falling apart so fast?
Kevlar maps.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be perfect. The Tyvek. So, devil's advocate, if we have to order maps that he's going to print from scratch, could we have him copy and paste this on the cover of them? It's kind of a two
So-
birds thing. I mean, if you're going to be ordering
yes and no.
5,000 maps, you
yes
don't
and
want
no.
to keep
So
doing that.
these are already done.
Okay,
The artwork, everything's done. So these are
He
one file,
literally just
print
hits
them.
boom.
yeah, so it's a little extra work on his part.
We're asking him to go through a little bit of a layout change, but
I see.
we can ask. That's,
And I think people that are grabbing a map don't care about a QR code because they have a map.
Okay.
What we want to do is over time is get them to stop grabbing maps.
I agree. Like, so I'm thinking about Wildcat in particular, these people who will never come back again from out of town to see the falls, take one map, and that's gone, you know, it goes home with them, and it's a waste, kind of, you know?
goes in their scrapbook.
No, it goes in the trash can that's outside of.
Right.
I've looked in that trash can, and there's like a ton of maps in there, and I'm like,
Yeah.
because they're done their walk and they just pitch it.
Yeah.
Maybe I should make a sign that says, don't throw that map away, put it back.
It's already there.
Just please return map.
It's already there.
Is it on the trash can?
No, it's on the next to the map box.
Maybe I just need a Sharpie. On the trash can.
You just scold
Or a
people.
separate
You need to
box.
shame people when they go, don't throw that away.
A separate box next to the
Yeah.
trash can,
Hmm.
so people are gonna go.
No,
and then-
it'll just be a trash can. It'll just have
Oh.
2 trash cans.
Well,
Yes.
Don't underestimate
That'll
the
get
power of
filled
my
with-
gray hair. I can scold people now. And they take me seriously. He's a grouchy old lady.
All right, so Mike's thought, do we want, I can ask if we change the front of this to,
You know,
Put the
kind of a
QR
big
code on it?
change, but I know that moving towards QR code seems to be something people keep talking about, and I think it makes a lot of sense from a cost perspective, from a paper perspective, not using so much.
How big is the one in the back?
it's small.
Small.
I think some people would prefer using their phone to having a whip out.
Right, but I
map.
mean,
Yeah.
right, so that's gonna be available to them to take a picture of.
Yeah.
And it's already on the back, it's, granted, it's small, but it's there.
I would never notice that.
Is there?
You know what I would love to do is replace all the map boxes that we have
Yeah.
with that sitting on the front of it.
Well,
So literally, you have to reach past that
Yeah.
to grab a map.
If we get some of them laminated, you could stick them right on top of the
Yeah.
boxes.
Yep.
Like Gina's idea, copy and paste, you know, just make it a sturdy version, slap it right on.
Because right now we're using like, we're going to Home Depot and buying mailboxes, and they're kind of contoured and they don't, but if we could get something that actually has like a little recess and bury that in there, that would be.
Yeah. Or even like just a piece of acrylic that you could adhere, get some adhesive for the other side, and construction adhesive that won't come off.
I'll research that.
It's just a thought, because it wouldn't actually cost any more to print them that way other than the setup. And it might be a good transition idea. Then again, with Wildcat, maybe we should just make it all digital as a pilot.
That won't go over well with the subcommittee.
You've lived a year without the maps. It's already proof positive. The place hasn't burned down.
This is true.
Yeah, it works. Good. Still works.
I wonder, I don't know how the software works with that exactly. There's no way to know how many people are scanning that, right? Like,
We get hits on our website.
because that's what serves the
From our
map?
website, or does it go
No,
direct?
it goes right to,
Okay.
Goes to
In RPC.
RPC? Yeah.
Is it one QR code for all 4 properties?
no, each property's got its own.
Okay,
Because it takes you to that map.
yeah. So we need to make sure that the right QR code goes on each map.
We could probably get the landing results from.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that, like, whenever you implement this,
I know a
you
guy
should
that
find
has
out.
something to do with them.
Yeah, that's right.
It's on the executive committee?
Matt knows all the cool kids.
That's Tim.
I can ask him if how big a deal it would be to, put it like that on the front and center of the map. Is that what you were
Yeah.
thinking
Maybe a
about?
little smaller.
I mean, does
Well-
it have to go front and center, or can it go like up on the top right-hand column or something? I don't wanna
It's,
confuse it, that's right.
it's gonna be moved from here
Yes,
to some other location
okay, thank you.
that's more prominent on the front of the map.
Okay,
So.
I
even-
would rather see the map box have something and leave that alone.
We could put those in the front of the map box.
That's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather
Start small.
and be consistent, because we have a bunch of different types of map boxes. I'd love to just replace them all with something that is enhanced by a QR code, and we have the budget to do this.
You do? You can find the right solution, maybe you can put it up for a vote.
Yes, I plan to come to the next meeting with something.
With new mailboxes?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just gonna get maps printed, based in the original order and the reorder
Yep. And thank him
profusely.
profusely for us. Again.
Yeah. And just I'm gonna grab those.
We should actually send them a card from the commission or something.
Yeah, we should do something.
Wanna
And
grab one,
definitely get
we'll
the
sign?
water park sign for Mike's basement.
I mean, one thing that I could do, if you want, is I could send a letter to the editor, to the Telegraph, and thank him from the Merrimack Conservation Commission. Is that something you'd like me to do?
That'd be very good.
Yeah.
What's that, Jan?
The Nashua Telegraph has letters to the editor, so let's shake things up and not do something political for a change, and we'll put a thank you to Paper Graphics from the Merrimack Conservation Commission.
That's why I've never seen these.
You guys still want a card?
A card?
Thank you card?
Sure, card is good. You do the card, I'll do the letter to the editor.
Done your comments?
I'm good.
I have no comments.
Motion to adjourn?
Second? All those in favor? No vote, thank you.
10-0-0.
All right. Before I send that letter to the editor,